a country where corruption has permeated the social fabric of our society, with so many reports coming in every day showing that Uganda still languishes in the basement, as the latest Transparency International report shows. It has dropped to 2 places further, from 140th to 142nd position. With a number of good policies and laws in place and watchdog institutions, including the Ethics Ministry, it's baffling why corruption has remained endemic without any signs of abating. On the spot tonight is the Inspector General of Government, Justice Irene Mulyagonja, and Ethics Minister, Honorable Simon Lokodo. Justice Irene Mulyagonja and Honorable Simon Lokodo, you're most welcome. Both of you are on the spot tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, listeners and viewers up there.
Let me begin with you, Honorable Simon Lokodo. We are now observing the Anti-Corruption Week. We are in the middle of it. And one would want to know, because this is a time when we want to reflect as a country in the fight against corruption. So it's an issue of integrity. How do we stand today?
Okay, let me start by the timing that you have just mentioned. From 2nd to 9th December every year, for the 13th year now, the international community meditates, discusses, and probes into this malaise, this graft called corruption. And we call it Anti-Corruption Week, which culminates on the D-Day, 9th December, with the International Anti-Corruption Day event. Of course, as you said, corruption is a fact. Corruption is not ignorable. First of all, the very fact that there is a nomenclature for it tells you it exists. Now, the biggest problem has been, where is it, who lives with it, and how widespread is it? Figures have been coined by individuals as entities or associations, and they always put this country in a certain perspective, a level of corruption. As a political head of the entities that government constitutionally has put in place to fight this graft, means knowledgeable of the fact that it's there, we have every reason to say that for some time now we have been working around the clock, each institution fulfilling efficiently and effectively, committedly, its mandate. We just feel something is happening in the positive side. That means, 1, sensitizing the populace on the fact of corruption, the danger of corruption, and the magnitude that it is.
Oh, you seem to be indicating that something positive is happening in that fight, but the other groups, for example, when you see the report that was given just yesterday by Transparency International, which also had an office in Uganda, it shows that Uganda is slipping down the basement in that fight.
You know, I always sympathize with people who come up with very affirmative declaration that there is such a measure or amount of corruption in the country, when they don't even ask those of us who have got a right, impression of what is happening in the country in the fight against corruption. So why I always get a little bit disgusted is they don't tell us what measures or parameters, what measures they use in order to establish the fact that corruption is so big or so high in Uganda. 2, they even don't know themselves what corruption is, because sometimes they pick an aspect of corruption like bribery, and they say because there is so much bribery in the country, that is the measure of corruption. Corruption is more than that. So I really want to attest that a disclaimer of that report and the reporters.
Really? Let me turn to Justice Irene Mulyagonja. According to public perception, Justice Irene, graft in Uganda begins with the top echelons of society. In fact, that it gradually trickles down. If I may use the words of retired Justice J.B. Katusi, one time he said, "This court is tired of trying salapiers when crocodiles are left swimming." That we have a citizenry calling itself the untouchables. Are we really not going for the crocodiles and we're just keeping the small fish?
You see, when you talk of tilapia and crocodiles, I really get tired. I get tired by that description of the fight against corruption in this country. A lot of work has been done to fight corruption. But if we keep on going round and round like a spoilt record about small fish and big fish, tilapias and crocodiles, and exclaiming that the big fish are never touched, then we do not acknowledge the work that is done, for instance, by the Anti-Corruption Court, the work that is done by the Inspectorate of Government, and all these other institutions that fight corruption in Uganda. You see, when you talk about big and small fish, you need to be able to distinguish what are the big fish and what are the small fish. What pains me about when people talk about big fish and small fish is when they talk of big fish, they expect the anti-corruption agencies to be prosecuting politicians, as though they do not know how government in Uganda, especially in the public realm, how government in Uganda is structured, in that even if you wanted to prosecute ministers and politicians for corruption, you hardly have evidence to pin them down. You do not have the evidence to show that Minister A or Minister B took so much money from a ministry, because they do not have control of resources in the way the government of Uganda is run. So that argument of big fish swimming and small fish being caught sometimes just makes us very tired as anti-corruption agencies.
Isn't that stemming from the amount of money that is lost and the big cases, for example? And at the end of the day, the money is not recovered. And I'm not saying the individuals who have been taken to court, who have gone to court and to jail, and they're out and their names have been cleared, that maybe they were guilty, but you could not find evidence. But the question will always remain: yes, we agree money was lost, but Honorable, for example, Bukenya is taken to jail, he's cleared. Mike Mukula is taken to jail, he's cleared, and probably they defended themselves well and they didn't have a case to answer. But the Ugandans will be asking, we need to recover our money.
That is true. We do need to recover the money. But we also need to see that we have laws that will help us to recover the money. Because right now, the laws that we have for recovery of assets, especially in the realm of corruption, it's laws, the provisions are in the Anti-Corruption Act. And for you to be able to recover any money that has been lost due to corruption, you've got to first of all prosecute the culprit, and after conviction is when you recover anything from them. If you try to go for seizure of assets before prosecution, the standard that is required by the court is so high for you to establish that actually these are assets that need to be seized before we prosecute a person under the Anti-Corruption Act. That slows down the recovery of monies that are lost from the government coffers. So perhaps if we had a law that was easier to execute in terms of seizing assets, we would maybe be doing better in recovery of assets.
So in the absence of the law that Justice Irene is talking about, Honorable Simon Lakodo, doesn't that make your work and the government's work of fighting corruption difficult? Because at the end of the day, you are accountable to the Ugandan people, and they need to see their funds recovered. And the law is not conducive to see that happen.
You see, it's in the practice that you begin to discover that there are holes, there are lacuna, and there are air spaces that would need to be covered. Simply because we have met these situations where we have seen the rat escape from the net, because unfortunately our laws were porous. We have now come up with amendments of the existing laws, including formulation of new ones, so that we can capture this. You know, this corruption, so is with other legal-related activities. Our constitutions, or our laws for that matter, make it very difficult to jump on a suspected case of corruption. Even probably when you as an individual could be very, very, very convinced that is true. Because one is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So now with our laws, there are always lacuna, ways where one can meander and get out of it innocently. But it's true, as you say.
And for those who are watching, you speak tonight and they're wondering, for all these years, why has it taken you so long? The institutions of government to realize that there's a problem with the law. We have Justice Irene Mulyagonja, big legal minds that can help Uganda. Why has it taken this long? Not even to work on it.
No, listen. Every other time we have been amending a law. And so continuously we are discovering that even another law has to be amended. For example, we have just come up with amendment to the Anti-Corruption Act, where we found that the anti-money laundering bill had left some issues unattended. This is the non-conviction based asset recovery, because the people are interested in recovering what the corrupt have done. So we're injecting it now into private members' bill and amendment of Anti-Corruption Act. Then the Leadership Code Act amendment draft is in cabinet now. That will go a long way in amending the Leadership Code Act to respond to Article 235 of the Constitution, which provides for the establishment of the Leadership Code Tribunal. You know, 2-3 cases we lost because IGG didn't have the powers to prosecute as well as adjudicate.
So let me bring this question to the IGG. There's some kind of sophistication in as far as graft is concerned. People are becoming more crafty. I understand this year you received almost 3,000 kind of complaints. I'm wondering whether you have the capacity to reach all the districts of Uganda and be able to investigate these cases and bring the corrupt to book.
Of course, we do not have the resources to investigate all of 3,000 that you are talking about. The outfit that we run as the Inspectorate of Government has its limitations. We do have 16 regional offices in Uganda, but you find that those regional offices have an outreach maximum of 10 districts, each of the regional offices. And each of the regional offices has a staff component of only 4 technical officers. Those are the men and women who go out into the field to investigate. So given the number of local government units that we have, if you have 4 officers sitting in one area to investigate graft in 10 districts, you can see.
I am told, Honorable Justice Irene Mulyagonja, that for the case of Teiso in Soroti, you have 4 people investigating 300 cases in that area. And I'm wondering how, at the end of the day, will you be able to cover this? And are we not just scratching on top and leaving the road under without any capacity to reach it?
Now, those are your words, and it's good that you have the statistics. So you can make your own assessment, and then you, as a Ugandan, call upon the powers that be to see that we have a bigger outfit to fight the problem that we are grappling with in corruption. Rather,
Did I go wrong on the statistics?
You may have got the correct statistics. You are telling me there are 300 cases in Soroti, and I have only 4 officers in Soroti. That is a very small number of officers to do the 300 cases. So I am calling upon you as a member of the citizenry of Uganda to ask for accountability.
Uganda is listening, Uganda is watching. I'm doing my work right now at this very moment.
Yes, that is why I'm asking you. Like I would ask every other Ugandan, to ask for accountability from government for this problem of graft. If we have graft at the levels that people talk about, and that is what we have in terms of resources to fight it, we should, as Ugandans, call upon government, like the Inspectorate does, because every year I go before Parliament and they ask me, what do you as Inspectorate of Government need to fight graft? And I tell them every year that I need more resources. I need more money in terms of operational funds. I need more vehicles to transport the officers. I also need more officers to do the work that the Inspectorate does. So all Ugandans should join us in demanding for this accountability from our government.
To complement what IGG has just said, it's, I think, incumbent on all Ugandans to see that the volume of the graft is astronomous, and therefore to reduce it to the efficiency of a smaller team might be expecting too much. But one good thing is we must appreciate that even in the littleness that they are in and with the limited resources that they have, they are breaking the ice.
We're going to take a break, Honorable Simon Lokodo and Justice Irene Muliagonja, but when we come back, I just want to ask, doesn't it need Uganda to have good leadership for us to be able to fight corruption? Isn't it a leadership problem that we're having? We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara, and my guests tonight are Justice Irene Muliagonja and Honorable Simon Lokodo. We are tackling the issue of corruption in Uganda. You know, corruption is not justly said, it's not just about bravery, but also it's an issue of integrity. Today, when you go, you're a politician, when you go to your constituency, I can imagine you'll find people coming to you with requests, financial, material, and all that. And it appears to me that in the last couple of years, the Ugandan individual has lost that sense of pride and has been reduced to a beggar. And in that way, it creates vulnerability and people become desperate and they try all sorts of things, including corruption, to survive.
Now, on the issue of politicians trying to tame their people and give a show as if they have got the potential of satisfying all the needs of their constituents. This, unfortunately, has been a mishap in the management of politics in this country, where people are given the impression that you become a politician, you enter into a granary that is handlessly with resources, all right? And so you go there, you have to pay school fees for this one, take this one to the hospital, build a school there. We're saying now, no. If you are in that position of responsibility, there are government structures that are supposed to implement government service delivery activities. All right? So those people who go there in order to seek eulogy and praise from the people are actually spoiling their people. And also the people say, oh, since he gives, let's go and get it. But I want to dissuade you from another idea why we are coming up with a feeling that, oh, this is going to encourage people to think the way to go also could be corruption. Really, integrity is the mother of everything. If you have your dignity, integrity, and honesty, there's no way you can jump in. Up down there in the village, there are women who watch at the gardens of the others. They never go and jump and get it. But it is us, the elites, who come here and grab money, which is meant for helping other institutions or people in that area there. So it's a question of mindset. And I think the way to go is what we have done now, to reactivate, reinstill the national ethical values. We have just come up with a national ethical values policy so that we sensitize, conscientize our people and really correct these attitudes that they're built up.
You're talking about the question of mindset. Let me paraphrase this question for Justice Irene. When you look at the Ugandan individual families, where the unit of a state really begins, are we not as a country losing it at a family level? Because that's where we're supposed to nurture a people who are going to have a sense of integrity and not have a deficit of the same.
Okay, thank you for that comment. The Ugandan family used to be a unit of production where the family was the center of the activities that contributed to the development of the nation, where we had an agrarian, and we still do have an agrarian economy in most of the rural areas. But the people have lost the zeal to work the land. Where I come from, I have seen a situation where, on the land where my father was born, when my grandmother and my grandfather lived there, they had plantations. They had banana plantations. They used to grow cotton. They used to grow groundnuts. They used to grow simsim. They used to grow a lot of these crops that are now actually turning into cash crops from our economy. But when I go back to where they used to grow those crops, I find that most of those gardens are overtaken by weeds and bushes and jungles. My cousins who are on the land, instead of farming the land, hire it out to people who come and give them a pittance for hiring their land. And then those people who hire the land from them, who rent the land from them, go away with sacks and sacks of food and other produce.
Or maybe sell it.
And actually go and make money out of it. But these people who have been paid to use their land, they have sold their inheritance, they are not working, and therefore they are desperate for money.
The analysis you're giving, I'm not going even to contest that, because you're giving an example from where you come from.
Yes.
But somebody who's watching and listening to you say, look, Justice Irene Muliagonja, you are a person in a position of influence. Somebody who can be followed and understood.
Yes.
So instead of organizing with those people, you should be able to, with the government, to organize and change. So what has it been done from your side?
I have not chosen to be a politician. Neither have I decided yet to go back to the land. When I finish what I am doing now, and I have time to go back to the land to cultivate, I definitely will go back, because there's a lot of money that can be got out of working the land. But what is happening in most of our rural areas is that people sit and agonize instead of getting onto their feet and going to work. You find these small trading centers where the youth who are partially educated are not doing any work, but are waking up in the morning to go to the trading center, sitting to play mweso, sitting to play matatu, while their old parents are at home trying to find them food to eat. So what has gone wrong? There's got to be a way of mobilizing these people to get them to work the land, because we have nothing else. We don't have industries yet, but we have land, and that land can be used to improve the livelihoods.
I'm talking about the youth who converge on trading centers to play matatu. You, Honorable Simon Lokodo, you know we have a problem of sports betting. It's legal in this country. And if you meet a group of young boys anywhere, whether it's in my district in Chenjojo or in Karamoja where you come from, on a weekend they'll be discussing Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United and things like that, and debating the little money that they have, because they're not engaging in work. What are you going to do to stop that idleness? Idle mind is the devil's workshop, so that they can get to work.
You know, anything that can go deeper into the lives of people must start from the grassroots. And I want to say this is a big responsibility of the family, where parents have left these children to take off from home course, and they are no longer coordinating and cooperating with their children. This one sleep in the morning, wake up very early, go and do this what you are saying, betting, gaming, etc. It is a very, very big loss of family values. Normally, I'm not very old, but at least I believe we are children of 8 in the family. And every morning we would come together, allocate duties. Who's going for the goats, who's going for the garden, who's going for water, especially when it was not taking somebody permanently as a duty.
But this is right in your docket, Honorable Simon.
Listen, mine is to instill values.
Integrity and value, yes.
Yes, mine is.
One would want to know, what steps have you taken since you got this docket?
Oh, very good. In terms of what we are doing, we are going out to sensitize the communities, the institutions, the clusters of society on values that they must re-cultivate, re-harvest, because we lost them. And see to it that this person, for example, just put the question of people should learn how to earn their living, not on begging, not on these chances of betting and gaming. Land is, as you said, is the greatest source of survival now. And everywhere it's like that, except where urbanization has taken over. If our people went back to their land, they would raise that, okay, now even the president has been advocating, go back to their land, because that's the only basis of income generating, and therefore resolving of all the domestic problems and financial, economic challenges that we meet. If only everybody would come and cultivate right values, do the right thing at the right time in the right place, I'm sure corruption will not be the case.
Justice Mulyagonja, there are those who have attributed the issue of corruption on the leadership. That is a problem with the leadership in Uganda. That's why we have a lot of corruption. And when you talk about tilling the land, also the government must do its part by supporting more agriculture. At least follow what you committed, the Maputo Declaration, the 10%, and not the 2 or 3% into agriculture. Do you also think leadership is a problem at the top in this fight?
I think that leadership all over is a problem. It's not just leadership at the top, but even leadership in our own families is a problem. The problems of Africa or underdevelopment in Africa all stem from an absence of concrete leadership skills. If we could go back to the drawing board and say, how do we inculcate the good values of leadership, good values of stewardship, values that will take us to the next level, not just in our homes, but also in our schools. How do we transform our education system to see that it creates productive people, not people who are going to get out of school and wait for them to be given jobs to do for a pittance? We need to go back to the drawing board and see that as leaders, we cultivate the right values in people, we also inculcate the correct skills and knowledge for them to transform this country and take it to the next level.
So, but you have partners, non-state actors, civil society organizations. They have done, I think, a wonderful job, in my view, of trying to unearth, graft, and put the figures that are really shocking. But sometimes when they are distributing the newsletters, they have issues with the state. And you wonder, why can't you just allow any effort that is coming from whatever corner in the fight against corruption to move on? Because these are your strategic partners.
Okay, now listen, what we have done is to put in place an anti-corruption public-private partnership. This is by bringing on board all these CSOs who have got a goodwill, many of them, and really want to instill and put values into the society. But I am very, very uncomfortable with a number of them. They spend all their time. They borrow money from abroad to do nothing else but just go and track government entities where they have gone wrong. Instead of being associates in the fight against the graft, they are looking for where they can give blame, where they can incriminate government for having failed this or that. I don't mind really saying that something is wrong, but please say it in good faith, not with the intention of tarnishing and giving the impression that this government is just sleeping, watching at corruption, knowing away the lives of the people, yet we are here in the fight. We have known a few NGOs who have really, for example, today I was very impressed by GIZ. GIZ, do you know what they have done? They give a donation to Manufacturers Association and all the business community to come up with a code of conduct, code of ethics. That is a fantastic contribution. Instead of giving money here to promote negative things, they've given money to mold the ethics in the manufacturing sector.
What is so negative, for example, in the Black Monday movement, when they show you the road?
But who has said Black Monday should not show the road?
We are saying, show us what the truth is, but put it in good faith. In other words, not with the intention of throwing that entity into, I don't know,
How do you know that's the intention, Honorable Akodo?
Yeah, because what have they done? Every time they are moved on the streets of Kampala were only to embarrass government. I have invited them to my office. Say, come on, we talk. We see how to work together.
I think...
And instead of coming to my office, they say, oh, well, let's go to the street. I can't follow you on the street.
Is it the person who points at the emperor and tells him you're naked? Or the one who says you are okay, yet the emperor is actually naked? When they tell you the truth, these are your strategic partners.
That's what I'm saying. I said I am very comfortable with those who point out to faults of the others. They help a lot. But what is your intention behind the mind there? 2, you have always done this exaggeratedly. All right? Because these billions, these trillions that these people are mentioning, where do you get that money from? That's not true. And as she was telling me before, this Transparency International and the other people there, they are basing themselves on government, instruments of unearthing corruption, which are only in the process of being verified or not, and they capitalize on only
before investigations are complete.
Which I think that then you give a wrong message home.
Justice.
When the Auditor General comes up and says, I'm suspecting that some money was lost here, there was misappropriation here, and so on, you come and answer, the accounting officer. Before even the accounting officers explained why the thing is sounding like that, they have already called it a Corruption Act.
Okay, just one more question to Honorable Justice Mulagonja before we go to break, because I was reading the other day, your disagreements with the Attorney General over the Katosi Road has spilled over the media, but you recently said that the Attorney General should not be part of your suit against the Chinese firm Seiko. That's, I think, if I got the quote correct. Have you now joined a growing list of those who are questioning the legal advice of the Attorney General?
You see, legal advice depends on the facts that are on the table for you to give advice about. And when we are giving our advice, I think as professionals, we ought to be true to ourselves and give advice which suits the facts that we are talking about, and not flavor that advice with our other commitments, like political commitments. Because if you give advice in a professional capacity, for instance, if you came to me and said, Justice, give me advice, these are the facts, I need to know what I should do in this situation. If it is an illegality that we are talking about, I need to be upfront with you and tell you that the situation you are giving me here is illegal.
So
such and such a thing that happened is illegal, and I should not have to apologize for the illegality and flavor it with other things and say, yes, it is illegal, but because of A, B, C, and D, let us go on and validate this illegality.
So can that be understood to mean that the Attorney General has come short of the required standards?
Well, it is not for me to judge the Attorney General. He is your Attorney General as well as he is my Attorney General. So it is up to you to decide where to place
I'm talking about the statement you have made. Can it be understood to mean that?
I have given you the facts as they are. I have said if something is an illegality and you are a legal profession, and this is a general principle in law, if a court, for instance, finds that there is an illegality anywhere in a dispute, that is the end of the story.
Okay.
This illegality will be the reason why the court will make a decision one way or the other, which side is the illegality? Is it on the side of the plaintiff or on the side of the defendant?
We'll continue with that discussion. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I also want to drill deep, since we have a judge and a priest also, who is also a politician. Why do we find corruption in sacred places, in churches, and even temples of justice? We'll be right back.